Welcome back. You all did pretty good. Okay. Where would Tamworth be without stories? Right now, stories. Please welcome Marion Posner, the amazing Marion Posner, and friends.
Thank you, George. I suggested wonderful. He did better. And those of you who don't know me, and I think there may not be too many who don't know me, and hear an English accent and think, Tamworth? I was born here. My grandparents were from here. I escaped for 45 years, but of course I came back. So, herewith, a patchwork quilt of glimpses from our history here, embroidered with a few colourful threads of fancy, and starting with a Tamworth hymn. There's facts and gossips, sadness and glee, the colourful stuff of our history, in and among our glacial rocks, told by Dans in our well-worn socks. It's a tough tale ours of toil and trouble, with old stone walls and streams that bubble. Oh, sing the song and sound the bell, a Tamworth tale we have to tell. Louise, have you sewn the Tamworth pig in yet? No. How big do I make it? A pig is a pig, Louise. And did you find a way to stitch the nails that Mr. Folsom made at the nail factory so they don't look like darning needles, Louise? No. I'm working on an image of those who were here before us, long before us. Porgus, Chikarawa, Ossipee, Wanalancet, Ne Mikwanana, we remember. We Linone, we give thanks. Chikarawa had a son and you killed him. Panthers howl and wolves fatten over your bones. Martha? That was an upsetting patch to sew. Oh, worry not, Louise. I have a lovely image for you now. It's of a father and a son. Wanalancet, my son, it is friendship with the white man we must cultivate. Do not kill them. Treasure your dignity and nobility. Yes, Bashaba. The years went onwards, and when Wanalancet died, gently they laid him in the waiting sledge. The grey wolf team ran yelping up the ledge. Men watching saw them reach the summit, whirl and vanish upward in a fiery swirl. Martha, Mr. Paul Maurer, the first New Hampshire poet laureate, wrote that. He lived in Chikarawa. Oh, he deserves a patch on our quilt all to himself, penning his poetry, don't you think? Later, Louise, later. Now you get on with the clearing of the wilderness. Make sure you stitch in the sweat and the hard labour of it. We'll never clear this. Wilderness swamp. Wilderness swamp. Rocks, rocks, down to rocks and down further. Rocks, boulders, heavy, daunting, terrible. What kind of a dream is this? Oh, may the fires of hell swallow these biting pestilents. We don't have nothing like this back where we come from. 25 cords I'll need to cut for the cabin, and even so I'll need to slather the little ones in goose fat for the winter and swaddle them in skins to stop them freezing to their deaths at night. Oh, this tree's got a girth bigger than our mother-in-law's put together. Careful, careful, she's ready to fall. Timber! Whew. That'll be a good ship's mast's length. Oh, we'll need more than one ox to haul this one. Louise, your next stitching needs to show oxen yoked together. Heave ho, come on now, Bessie. Yoke together, dear, yoke together. There's a good girl. You know what driving oxen is like? No? Well, I'll tell you. It's like raising children. Slow and steady does it. A nervous man shouldn't drive 'em. And a nervous man shouldn't drive a family neither. That's what my grandpappy said. He'll never get nothing out of them. Louise, Bog Iron being dragged from Lake Ossipee is next. How on earth can I stitch that? Well, I'll design the tooth harrow affair they used for dragging it out. Getting this iron out is more than oxen can take. They're exhausted from dragging the stones for the making of the stone wall up the hill. Brindle's lolling, her tongue's hanging out. Fan her, cool her, or she'll melt. Oh, Bessie's dropped a shoe. Linus, rub some linseed into Turk's neck. It'll ease the chafing. You know where today's bog iron is going? Nope. To make some of the links for the great chain. The one as will stop the British ships from getting up the Hudson River. Oh, I sincerely hope it'll be successful. Louise, your fingers may indeed be sore and stiff, but we have a quilt to create. Wolves now. Show the last wolf on Great Hill. Wolves, whole packs of them. They're coming down from the mountain. They're on Marston Hill, the great one. Louise, make her a magnificent beast, that wolf. Dignified, proud, a symbol of the wildness we live in here, with a mere veneer of civilization stitched over it. Oh, Martha, I'm not sure I can. Get into a line, we'll surround them, no escape. Yes, sir, General Scrimby, sir. Form a wall. Now, you, shoot, 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 shoot. I don't like that story, Martha. Those poor creatures were just going about their business. Ha! The business of feasting on our sheep and bairns, more like. Martha, I wonder if wolf's meat is tough to eat. I've seen recipes for wolf stew in Grandma's cookery book, along with boiled beaver, slow-baked raccoon, squirrel fried up with a nice pigweed dressing, Now, Louise, I'll take on Parson Hidden. It takes an experienced seamstress to show his dignity and intellectual status. The following letter, found between the leaves of an old sermon, and in which no name is found, it being much mutilated, will serve to throw some light on the occasion of Parson Hidden's ordination. It bears the date September 27th, 1792.
Now, sir, I will tell you about the ordination. And yet I know not where to begin or what to say. It defied description. After much wrangling between the council and the people, Mr. Hidden was ordained on a large rock on which 50 men might stand. His foundation must be secure and solid, for this rock will stand until Gabriel shall divide it with the power of God. Early in the morning, the people assembled around this rock, men, women, boys, and girls, together with dogs and other domestic animals. It is an entire forest around this place. The scenery is wild. On the north is a high hill, and north of this is the mountain called Shakoroa, which touches heaven. On the south and in all directions are mountains steep and rugged. I had expected to hear the howling of the wolf and the screeching of the owl, but instead of these were heard the melting notes of the robin and the chirping of the sparrow and other birds that made the forest seem like paradise. The men looked happy, rugged, and fearless. Their trousers came down about halfway between the knee and ankle. Their coats were mostly short and of nameless shapes. Many wore slouched hats, and hundreds were shoeless. The women looked ruddy, and as though they loved their husbands. Their clothing was of all domestic manufacture. Every woman had on a clean checkered apron and carried a clean linen handkerchief. Their bonnets, well, I cannot describe them. I leave them to your imagination. But think of the grandeur of the scene. A great rock, the pulpit, the whole town, the floor of the house, and the canopy of heaven, the roof, and the tall, sturdy trees, the walls. Who could help being devotional? This is the place nature has formed for pure worship. Long shall the rock stand like the rock on which our fathers landed. Long may these woods resound with praises of Jehovah. Long may this church make the wilderness and the solitary place glad, and the desert blossom as the rose.
There were once around 19 schools in Tamworth, Louise. I shall run out of thread, Martha. Oh, Louise, just choose an aspect to capture. For example, peas porridge hot.
Peas porridge hot, peas porridge cold, peas porridge in a pot 9 days old. Some like it hot, some like it cold, some like it in a pot 9 days old.
Or you could choose payment for a teacher was sometimes 6 bushels of rye. Sounder than paper money, people said. It would pay a girl teacher for 6 months. She taught up to 50 pupils in a little room. Oh, and then you could choose. There was a lot of reciting and memorizing.
1 and 1 is 2, 2 and 2 is 4, 4 and 4 is 8, 8 and 8 is 6.
Now, girls were often not expected to learn arithmetic or geography, but every child needed to learn by rote. And it was believed that if a child recited something enough times, it would seep into her. or him and stay inside nice and firm. Take this one, for example. Fear not in meritorious undertakings. Now that means do not be afraid of doing good deeds. So let's all say it. A bit of recital will do none of you any harm. Fear not in meritorious undertakings. Fear not in meritorious undertakings. Fear not in meritorious undertakings. Once more. Fear not in meritorious undertakings. Well done. I do heartily suggest that when you get home, you say it 10 times before bedtime, 10 times at breakfast, a few times tomorrow, for at least the next 10 weeks. And then, oh, good deeds will abound in Tamworth. And then, of course, you could stitch the jump roping. Teacher, teacher, she gave us the belt, 'cause we didn't know how Chikoro is spelt. We threw the teacher in the snow and sleet, 'cause he stood us on the wood stove and burned our feet. Ow! To go to school, you bring your own chair. Whisper in class now, don't you dare. Teacher says her boarding house gives her woodchuck stew. She says she'd like the beaver pie, and so would you. Everybody on board. Watch your skirts, madam. It's a high step. What's that you said, sir? Oh, the young men are going hiking today? But not the women on account of their long skirts and tight whalebones corsets. Oh, they'll be taken up by carriage or on horseback? Oh, well, I knows a man who uses his walking stick to hold up his sister's skirts when they hikes up Mount Chikorowa. An insult to propriety, sir? Oh, no, not at all. She had her long bloomers on. Now, those who are hiking up the lovely Chikorowa mountain can stay at the Peak House. A foreigner, French, James Liberty, Liberté, something like that, has raised the money to make a trail. Told to pay, mind you. Oh, no, madam, no danger there. The Peak House is held down by heavy chains. Oh, no, it can't never blow off. No. Heaven help us! She's broken her chains. There's beds all over the mountainside, and the little cottage organ has gone, blown away with its music. And we all thought that chains would hold it forever. Oh, nice views today. All this felling of trees means you tourists can get lovely views of the mountains from the train. The railroads through the wilderness have done wonders for the workers' clear-cutting. There's been a few very large forest fires, which some say are due to the trees being felled, but progress must continue. Trains now. The iron horse, that is our future. Martha? Yes, Louise? I want to stitch a stone wall. On our farm, the walls were double. 2 lines laid parallel, with a filling of small stones in between. My great-grandpa was from England, and he could tell which part of England the stone walls in New England came from, each one of them. My grandma said a stone wall is forever. But now they're buried down under brambles. and grass and trees have grown up through them and tumbled their carefully placed stones. All that work. It's like the railway birds. All that work and belief that it was forever. Yes, Louise, it is important that you stitch a stone wall, sturdy, elegant, a witness to our forebears, their hard work and hopes. Martha, I would like to picture William James, the philosopher, pen in hand. Oh, he bought such a lovely house here.
Dear Henry, I may possibly buy a small farm, which I saw in a convenient and romantic neighbourhood. New England farms are now dirt cheap. Close to a beautiful lake and under a mountain 3,500 feet high for $900. Yours, William. William, my dear brother, the very smell and sentiment of the American summers end here, mingle for me with the assault of forest and lake, and of those delicious, orchardy, yet rocky vaguenesses and Arcadian nowheres, which are the note of what is sweetest and most attaching in the dear old New England scenery. Yours, Henry.
Oh, Martha, and perhaps you, with your superior stitching, could create one of those lovely images that Mr. Frank Bowles of Shikorowa wrote. Could you stitch listening like a partridge?
By the Saco, by the bear camp, learn to tread the leaves with fox feet. Like the hare, to cross the snowdrifts. Learn to burrow for the woodchuck. Learn to listen like a partridge. Learn to wait, as does a bobcat.
Martha? Yes, Louise? Can I have a try at Mr. Crothers and landscape? Yes, indeed, Louise, give it a try.
Dr. Crothers here. Dr. Samuel McCord Carruthers. You know, Shikorowa Mountain may not be as big as the Matterhorn, but the principle is the same. Each valley or upland has its cult. I belong to the cult of Shikorowa. To those of our way of thinking, there is a defect in every landscape that does not have our beloved peak in the background. It is as inevitable as Fujiyama is in a Japanese picture. We feel that this is our mountain and that we have the property right to it.
I think that sentiment calls for the piccolo from the Shikorowa Cornet Band, created in 1896. Everybody clapping in time. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.